We reject the ideology of globalism, and we embrace the doctrine of patriotism.
Not only will this tax plan pay for itself, but it will pay down debt.
There are moral and legal obligation questions that I think we'll have to wrestle with as a society.
When we as people go wobbly on the truth, we go wobbly on America.
All you have to do is look at the numbers, look at what we've done.
And this is only the beginning.
From 100.9 FM WXIR, this is Evidence of Design, and I'm your host, Jason Taylor. Evidence of Design is a live talk show about the political economy. We critique income and wealth inequality and support democratic values. Thank you for listening, and welcome. Good morning, everyone. You are listening to Evidence of Design on 100.9 FM WXIR in Rochester, New York. This is episode 45 of Evidence of Design. It has been quite a while, but I'm happy to be here with you, and thanks for joining us here on this radio station. I'm joined today by my co-host, Mary Lawrence.
Good morning.
And our normal co-host, Matt Treadwell, is not here today, but he is here with us in spirit. Mary, a couple of weeks ago, we had a long conversation about student loans. I can't believe it was about 4 weeks ago now. We reached out to some listeners, friends, family, whomever was out there, and they told us their experiences with student loans. And our conversation was just about, what is the amount of student loans that you have, and how does it affect your decision making? And we sort of had a long conversation about that, hearing from folks sort of what effect student loans has on their life. And so we'll sort of continue that discussion today, because today in the studio we are very lucky to have folks from the Consumer Credit Counseling Service of Rochester. In their words, CCCS is a nonprofit organization here in Rochester, and they've helped hundreds of thousands of individuals and families deal with financial difficulties. CCCS of Rochester, their vision is to focus on the financial wellness of families and individuals, and they're certified professionals. They provide confidential counseling, educational services, and other solutions which enable clients to meet their financial goals. So we are very lucky today in our studio to have two representatives from CCCS. We have Lynette Baker, the Director of Marketing and Outreach, and we also have Pamela, a advisor at CCCS. Welcome both of you to Evidence of Design.
Thank you so much for having us.
And so, listeners, we want your participation today. You can go from listener to participant on Evidence of Design, and you can do so in a number of ways. You can do so first and foremost by giving us a call in the studio at 585-219-8889. Again, that's 585-219-8889. You can tweet us at Radio EOD. You can email us, radioeod@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook. Guess what? Radio EOD.
So easy to remember.
Yes. So we'd love to have your participation. But right now, let's turn it over and get into things, and let's learn a little bit more about what you do at the Consumer Credit Counseling Service of Rochester. Can you tell us a little bit about your organization? And Lynette, why don't we start with you?
Okay. Yeah. So we've been in Rochester for almost 50 years. We are a not-for-profit. I think you already mentioned that. And we do a lot of different services that surround helping people with their finances. So credit counseling, debt management plans, student loan counseling, first home club, housing counseling, which could include foreclosure prevention. If you're having trouble paying for your home, we can help you with that. We do a lot of community education. We have an outreach department that will go out and work with various companies and other agencies and educate their employees or their clients about budgeting and reading your credit report. We also offer a lot of free classes in our facility on University Avenue. We have a few times a month, like a first home club education, exploring home ownership is another class we offer, and then the budgeting and credit report class is something that we offer. The budgeting one, the exploring home ownership, those ones are free. There is a fee for the first home club, but you have to be enrolled in that program, so that's something that is a longer process. That's when you've decided that you are buying a home and you want to access some of the grants that we can help you get for home buying.
So it sounds like CCCS offers a lot of help in a number of ways for finances, debt management, anything relating to trying to figure out how to make your money work for you and to navigate kind of the adult life of finances.
Yep.
In your mission, you talk about financial wellness and improving folks' financial wellness. Can you let us know what a definition of financial wellness is and what that means?
Yeah. So, to us, it's, any kind of wellness, you feel good, you're not stressed out, it's not making you sick, because certainly other kinds of things can make you sick besides a virus or that kind of thing. But so if you're constantly stressed out about your finances, you're not feeling good either. So it's really that holistic kind of program where your finances are not making you stressed out, they're not making you feel bad. You can breathe. You don't feel like you have a weight on your shoulders all day long. So, we really strive to get people to that point. And sometimes it's harder than other times, but some people come to us with a lot of debt, and we will do everything we can to help you out, give you a lot of advice, teach you how to budget, because that's not something you learn how to do typically in school. How to read your credit report, how to do a lot of things that you can better your financial situation.
And does financial wellness differ from financial literacy at all? Is there a distinction there?
It does a little bit, but, being financially literate will help you get to that wellness part of it. So some of the things that I mentioned, like the classes that we offer, if you do come in for an appointment with one of our advisors, which, by the way, is totally free, you can come in and sit down with one of our advisors, and Pamela is one of those. They will teach you how to do some budgeting and how to look at your credit report and what to look for and those kind of things. So that is kind of twofold, making you a little bit more financially literate, but also that works towards, the wellness portion of that too.
And I only ask those distinctions because, before I really looked in or heard about CCCS, I always thought about financial literacy as something that would help me to know more about my finances. But I don't know, thinking about financial wellness is kind of interesting, at least for me, and that helps me conceptualize, this is something that can improve my health and wellness and well-being, and I think that's a good way to look at it, at least. And so, for those who are listening to this, and for those whom this information might be new, talking about finances or anything, is there sort of finances 101, sort of debunking some jargon? What are some things that are financial wellness 101 for folks that you might want to tell?
So part of that is learning how to budget. I've said that a couple times. That's really important. So, knowing what comes into your household and what's going out. A lot of people just kind of fly by the seat of their pants, and at the end of the month, if I have money left over, great. If not, I need to, tighten the belt a little bit. But so being able to plan ahead is something that we teach people, and something that is a really great skill to learn. Because you don't get taught anywhere else. So, and unless you majored in accounting or something like that, you don't understand how to make these spreadsheets and how to, average how much I spend on groceries every month and how much I spend on gas every month. Because those are a little bit harder to figure out than what my mortgage is or what my rent is, because that's a set number every month. What my car payment is, those kind of things are set. It's the other things. What do I spend when I go out for entertainment? So kind of giving people a better idea of that kind of spending and how to figure it out on your own going forward. And we'll look at that and give them a realistic budget to work off of. It may change. It changes over the years when you buy a new car or when you have a kid and now you're spending a little bit more at the grocery store, for that kind of stuff. But they at least have that skill now to move forward.
Is there a particular software or strategy when it comes to budgeting, or is it a find what works for you type of thing?
I found in my years of advising that it is finding something that works for you. I have clients that are all about spreadsheets and Excel, but then I have the clients that want to write it down. They want to have black and white in front of them. They, track the receipts. They write it in a budgeting book, so it really just depends on what is going to work for you. There's no right or wrong way as long as you're doing it to determine your budget, to keep track of your expenses.
Mm-hmm.
I think my parents would fall into that black and white
My dad does too.
category. Just out of curiosity, what could clients expect, like when they're coming to talk to you as a counselor, Pamela? What would they maybe expect on the first phone call or their first visit in the office?
We go through a complete financial interview. We take a look at everything. We take a look at how much is coming in. We take a look at the budget. We take a look at the credit report. And we determine, what's going on. Not everybody that comes to us for their debt needs to go on to a debt management program. Our goal is not to get our clients on a debt management program. Our goal is to educate them. Our goal is to give them the advice so that they can handle some of the debts on their own. So it may be telling them, track your spending. I have clients that feel like they're, in a shortage every month, and when I go over their budget with them, they should actually be in a surplus of $1,000 or more. And it's because they don't realize where their money's going. Yeah. So just expect us to look at everything. Don't expect us to try to push you onto a debt management program, because I've told plenty of clients, you can do this. We're going to give you the education. We're going to give you the support to handle this on your own. A lot of clients are like, I pay extra every month on all of my credit cards, but the balances aren't going down. Well, how much extra are you paying on each credit card? I've had clients say up to $100, and you have 7 credit cards. That's $700 extra a month. Take that $700, instead of putting it on 7 different credit cards, pay off a credit card. You know what I mean? So we give them all of that education. That's what they can expect from the counseling session, is the education we have to give.
Is that fairly common for folks to not realize where their money is going? Is that kind of like the point of budgeting, is for you to reflect and figure out what your sort of financial portfolio, so to speak, looks like?
I would say yes. There's a lot of clients there are some clients that know exactly where their money's going every month, and they just don't have enough coming in for the debt that they have. But there are plenty of clients that just don't know. Like, they know their mortgage, they know their car payment, like Lynette was saying, the set things. But groceries, entertainment, like when we go through the budget, I have clients all the time like, wow, I never even thought of that. I don't know. They think about it. Mm-hmm. Expenses of children. You don't know if you're not tracking it. And I know a lot of times now, people don't keep check registers. They're relying on their mobile apps. They're relying on the budget breakdown, or the analyst that your app gives you, but it breaks down into miscellaneous. Well, what is miscellaneous? Where is your money going?
I know this is really broad, but you just mentioned that, for some folks who come to you, they might just not have enough of an income or means to meet their expenses or debt. Mm-hmm. Can you speak to some of the ways that you would talk to individuals about that, where it seems like they don't have enough income to meet their debt?
Sometimes when they come in, they don't have enough income. There's been a job loss. There's been an injury, things like that that's uncontrollable. So at that point, that's when we would take a look into a debt management program. Is it credit card debt? Is the credit card debt, affecting your budget? If you could be in a surplus before credit card debt, but then when you take into all your credit card payments, you're in a shortage monthly. So what can we do to help? A lot of our debt management programs, depending on the creditors that you have, that 25% interest rate credit card, depending on your hardship, we may be able to get it down to 1.99%. So you are going to pay down those credit cards quicker, because more of your money is going towards the principal. So that would be the person that would be ideal for our debt management program. It may not be that you don't have enough income coming in. You might just not have enough income coming in to support the credit card payments from before whatever life event happened. So that's where we're there to help. And there are times that we do have to tell people, we've got to figure out ways to increase your income. Do you have a hobby that you do? Do you do artwork? Can you sell artwork? Can you get a part-time job? You have, is there any way that you can increase this income so that it is a little bit more manageable for you?
And this might sound like a silly question, but in case there's youth listening, because I certainly didn't know what an interest rate was. Mm-hmm. Are you able to explain what an interest rate is or means? What is interest?
So in layman's term, in short term, the interest rate is what the credit card company is going to charge you monthly for using the credit card, for them giving you the money to buy that purchase that you want to make. It's what they're going to charge you, the fee they're going to charge you to be able to use that credit card. And I mean, I've seen credit cards, interest rates up to 30%. It's bad. It's bad, yeah.
And so for folks who come in and work with you, do most folks that you work with have credit cards and they already have established sort of financial portfolios or resources, or is it all over the map?
All over the map. Because I do the first home club counseling too. So I see clients that don't have any credit and they come in, they want to buy a house. So we have to coach them on how to establish credit. I have clients that come in that had life events happen a few years ago and they're now financially stable enough to take care of those, so they're in collections. You know, I've seen people that have judgments, court orders against them, wage garnishments. It's really, you never know what to expect when you go into it, because it is all over the place. But we have education and advice for everybody, no matter where you are in your financial portfolio.
I guess as a follow-up to that, you mentioned you have people coming in who want to buy a house and have no credit. How do people establish credit when they have nothing, especially if they don't have a credit card or student loans?
It's actually kind of funny because the credit counselor then advises them to open a credit card. Revolving debt can help establish your credit. Your revolving credit there's different types of credit. There's installment loans, there's revolving credit, there's non-traditional credit. There's all different types of loans or credit. And I've had people that have come in and they have only student loans and their credit score is not where it needs to be to buy a house. Well, how do I establish more credit? The more lines of credit or types of credit you have on your credit, the more it helps your credit score. So we advise them, especially those that don't have credit, a lot of the times we're advising them to get a secured credit card. You secure it with your own money, but it works like a regular credit card, so you're establishing that credit history. And I've had clients that come in with no credit. I tell them, give them the advice or guidance on what to do. They come back 3 months later, and they have excellent credit. So it's just, credit isn't the enemy. Don't be afraid of it, because you do need it if you want to buy a house or you want to buy a car. It's just having the education to properly use it.
And I guess another follow-up is, why is credit important when you're buying a house or buying a car?
Because you have to have a credit score to do so. The credit score helps with what interest rate you get. It can help on what loan products are available to you. So the better the credit, the better the interest rate you're going to get. The more options you're going to have as far as loan products and banks that'll work with you. So it's important to have credit so that if you do want to go that route, that you're able to. I mean, there are companies out there that that will give somebody with not so good credit a loan, but it's a predatory loan. It's not a good loan. You know what I mean? So to make sure
probably
that
with high interest rates.
Oh yeah. So in order to make sure that doesn't happen to you, just keeping your credit score. I'm not saying it has to be perfect, but just keeping a credit score.
It's an indicator to a lender of your credit worthiness. Is this person going to be able to pay back the money that I'm giving to them to buy a house or buy a car or, buy a TV on their credit card? So somebody is fronting you that money, and it's in their best interest to give it to people that are going to be able to pay it back. And so that's really kind of an indicator, partially an indicator of what your credit score tells people, is that you are responsible and you're going to pay back this money. And that's not always true, it works both ways, but that's why they're looking at that in order to lend you money.
And that's where credit cards, the revolving credit, comes in, because it's a continuous line. It's not an installment loan where you have a set amount each month for a certain amount of time. It's revolving. So it shows that, like we always say, if you have a credit card, keep the limit owed less than 30%, because that shows that you're not overutilizing the credit, and making your payments on time shows that you are responsible with that credit line. So it shows that you're trustworthy for that credit line, and that it's a continuous credit line that you can use and you're not abusing it.
Right.
So listeners, if you're just tuning in, this is 100.9 FM WXIR in Rochester, New York. You're listening to Evidence of Design, and we are talking today with two folks from the Consumer Credit Counseling Service of Rochester. We have Lynette Baker, the Director of Outreach and Marketing at CCCS, and also Pamela Hart, an advisor at CCCS. We're sort of delving into some of the words of finances, which is I'm learning too, and that's really important because I know that at least for me growing up in my education, there was no real formal class on finances or budgeting or financial literacy, as we talked a little bit about before, and so this is helpful to hear. I think just kind of, well, what is it like finances, kind of 101, and what are some of those terms? And so, Lynette, I'd like to turn to you and ask if the work of CCCS has changed at all. I think at 46 years old or something, CCCS has been 49.
Yeah.
Wow. So been in the community for a while. Do you know from your own experience or anyone else in the organization if the work of helping folks in Rochester improve their financial wellness, has that changed over time at all?
I would say that how we do it hasn't changed. Like when you come in and you have that first appointment and we talk about your budgeting and your credit report, and that part of it has not changed over the year because the way that we look at that kind of thing hasn't changed. Some of the services that we offer have changed over the years. So once we'll eventually get into talking more about our student loan counseling, but that's one of our newest products that we offer, and that's because college is not getting any cheaper, and people are really getting into debt trying to get an education. So that is something that we identified within the last 10 years, that this is something that there's a demand for, and we should, get ourselves trained and certified and figure out how to help people with this. I think the First Home Club is something it's been around for quite a while, but probably not for the 50 years that we've been in business. So working on we love the First Home Club, by the way, because it's one of our forward-looking kind of programs, where we are helping people get into a home as opposed to getting out of debt, or trying to save your home, like with our foreclosure prevention. So it's one of those really great programs that we love to offer because we're helping people get out of that apartment, get into their own home, and that's something that makes people happy. It makes us happy. So
I love it.
So over the years, things have changed, but not necessarily in the basics and how you should be looking at your finances.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe not the way we do it hasn't changed, but the products we offer has.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm thinking in terms of like the global financial crisis or the Great Recession, if that contributes to increasing need for financial wellness or whatnot. But it sounds like, there's always a need there, and you just
It's always a need, yeah. Whether, if we're in a recession or not, there's always a need. And actually, you would think that when we're deep into a recession that we would get more business, but we actually don't, because people are losing jobs. There's a point where, and like Pam said, we're not going to force anybody into any of our programs. So we're going to recommend, we're going to give you some hints how you can do this yourself. If you want our help, we are absolutely there to provide it. But on the other end, we will also tell people, I'm sorry, you won't be successful in this program, so we're not going to recommend it to you. For like a debt management plan. If their deficit is so great every month, they will not succeed on a debt management plan, and we will not recommend that. We will recommend other ways that all, and the worst of which is filing for bankruptcy. We don't like to recommend that, but for some people that is where they are. And they've waited too long. They've gotten themselves too far into that, and that's something that luckily not as many people are filing for bankruptcy as they used to. It's really kind of dwindling, which is great, but that is something that we will work with people also. So there is that sweet spot of people that we can help, and then there's people on one end that, hey, you can do this on your own, or the other people that will tell them, just keep doing what you can, but you're not going to succeed on a debt management plan.
Yep.
How often does that kind of thing happen?
It happens, but it depends, honestly, on the client, like how long they waited. Mm-hmm. We would prefer that, once a client isn't able to make more than the minimum payment on a credit card, that they come and see us. But some clients don't, you know what I mean? So I would say it probably is about 25% of the time that happens, that we have to tell them that unfortunately our program's not going to work. And clients are surprised. They're like, well, isn't your job to put me on a debt management program? And I'm like, no, our job is to educate you. And that's what we do. We're not going to put somebody on a program that's not going to be successful. It's morally, it's not right, and we just give them the education that we can. And unfortunately, sometimes the bankruptcy word comes out. But to be honest with you, out of that 25% of the time that we can't help them, about 75% of the clients were already thinking bankruptcy, and they just wanted to talk to somebody first to see if that was the best option for them.
And I guess just to clarify, what does it mean for someone to file for bankruptcy?
So filing for bankruptcy, we don't get into the legal aspect of it. We refer them to seek legal counsel. We refer them to speak with an attorney to see if they can qualify for bankruptcy protection. So what it means is for consumers, there's two different bankruptcies, Chapter 7 and Chapter 13. The lawyer that they consult with will help them determine which one is going to be the one that they would be able to go for. In layman's terms, Chapter 7 is a complete discharge of your debt. Everything is discharged. The creditors can't come after you. It's done. That's eliminated. Chapter 13, it's kind of like a debt management program, except for it's It's more or less it's run by the trustee. The trustee of the court is the one that is in charge of it. You can pay as little as 25% of your debt all the way up to 100%, but it's a repayment plan. And depending on where your budget lies, your assets lies, and your income lies, it will determine which one you would qualify for. That's why we tell clients to seek the assistance of an attorney, because we're not qualified for that.
Right.
Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, the difference between the two is if you can pay back some of that debt, they'll encourage you to do that.
Yes.
It doesn't look quite as bad for you, because when you file for bankruptcy, that sticks with you for many years, and it's going to be very hard for you to go out and borrow any money after that. So you want to try to pay back as much of that as you're able. So it just depends. Like Pam said, we like to see people come to us when they really start to feel that in their gut that they're struggling a little bit. If your balances aren't going down on your credit cards, and most of the time that's because your interest rates are too high. So if you're paying 30% interest rate, so 30% of every payment that you're making is going towards interest and not towards the principal. If you're only able to make those minimum payments and you can't pay anything more, or if you're playing that shell game where I'm going to pay this credit card this month and then next month I'm going to pay on this one and I'm going to go back to the first one on the third month, if you're playing that game, you need to call and get some help, because that interest rate is killing you, and that's one place where we really can help people. We did some stats recently, and if a person comes to us and qualifies for a debt management plan, annually we can save them on average about $2,900 between fees that get waived, interest rates that get reduced. So if we can get you from that 30% interest rate down to like a 5% interest rate, that's going to save you so much money. And even if you're making that same amount of payment, more of that payment is going towards your principal instead of the interest. So it's really important to ask for help. And that first appointment with somebody like Pam is free of charge. You can do it over the phone. You can come in and see us and spread your papers out on a table in front of us. Whatever is more comfortable to you. We're right downtown. We're on University Avenue. We have all-day appointments. We have evening appointments. We have Saturdays. Not every Saturday we're open, but usually 2 a month we're open. So we have all kinds of availability. Or you can just do it on the phone too. Whatever's more convenient for you. But it never hurts to have somebody who's trained and certified in this kind of thing just take a look and see what they recommend, because a lot of the time we recommend you're fine, go do it on your own, but then that takes a little bit of that weight off your shoulder and makes you feel better about what you're doing.
And not only that too, we have an amazing client support department, so if you have general questions they're always there. You don't have to set an appointment for like general questions. They're there Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, to answer any questions. And they're certified credit counselors as well. So just any questions, they'll be more than happy to answer. And then, depending on the conversation, they may recommend an appointment. So if you're just looking to see, have questions, feel free to give us a call. We're always there to answer questions.
So 585-546-3440 is our phone number. Our website is ccccsofrochester.org. There's lots of information on our website that you can just kind of poke around there too and get some education there too. There's a lot of different kinds of calculators. There's more information about what happens during this first appointment or what happens on a debt management plan that you can kind of educate yourself a little bit before calling up. So check it out.
And we also have a calendar of our workshops as well on the website.
So listeners, if you're someone like me who learned about finances from playing the board game Monopoly growing up, it sounds like you would benefit a lot from what CCCS has to provide. Jokes aside, anyone who's sounds like needing some more information or counseling or help can look into all the services that you do provide, and you can also participate with us right now here at 100.9 FM WXIR in Rochester on Evidence of Design. You can participate in a number of ways by calling in at 585-219-8889. Again, 585-219-8889. You can email in your questions at radioeod@gmail.com or tweet us at radioeod. We are having a conversation today with folks from the Consumer Credit Counseling Service in Rochester with Lynette Baker, the Director of Outreach and Marketing, and also Pamela Hart, an advisor at CCCS. I have to keep oscillating back and forth between CCCS and Consumer Credit Counseling Service of Rochester, which is
it's a mouthful either way. Yeah.
Especially for somebody like me that has a list.
Just triple CS.
Right.
That's a good one. I never thought of that.
And so we started out the show by talking about student loans, really, because Mary, you, I, and Matt, we had a conversation a few weeks ago about student loans, something near and dear to our heart, and we just think that
our hearts and our wallets.
And we just think that it's useful to have these conversations of more in depth about finances and financial wellness, so that we can actually hopefully be proactive, as you were speaking to Lena earlier, not just reactive but proactive about our financial lives. And so maybe we can turn now and talk about student loans and some of the work that CCCS provides to help with student loans. Student loan debt is quite high today at $1.5 trillion. I think that's a historical high. And so just starting out really broad, what do you see and what services do you provide to help folks out with student loans?
With student loans, we do a lot of just navigating the client, just showing them what their options are. A lot of times student loans are that thorn that just do not go away. I know personally I had student loans and I just did not want to deal with them. And, it kind of got me in a little bit of trouble, but I work where I work, and one of the student loan counselors helped me out. I got him back on track. And then when the opportunity came for me to help others, I took it. A lot of the times the clients that are coming in, they're frustrated. They don't know what to do. They're talking with their servicers. They're confused. They don't know what their options are. So they come in for advice. Right now we have a grant, so appointments are completely free for the student loans. So if I can help the client and educate them, but also navigate them so the next time they can do it, that's what we'll do. But really their number one concern, especially with the federal debt, is what are their options? Do they qualify for public service loan forgiveness? Would an income-based repayment or income-driven repayment be a better option than a standard repayment? And so that's what we go through. We do a lot of, and it's the same thing. We do a financial interview for every appointment. We want to know what their budget is. And then we'll take a look and we'll see what options are best for them. We'll educate them, and then we're always there to answer questions afterwards, but it's mainly just getting them on the right path for their best option for their student loans. I know a lot of times I get the question of, well, should I refinance them? Should I refinance them into a private student loan for the federal loans. And, we strongly discourage that just because there are a lot of options with federal loans. If you're struggling with your payments, there are options for federal loans that may not be available or aren't available for private student loans. So that's why, our number one advice to my friends and my family, I've got, some cousins that are going to be going off to college, go for federal loans first. Go for federal loans first. We have a lot more options for the federal loans as far as advising than the private.
And the interest rate is typically lower, too, on federal loans. So take every penny that you can get in federal money first. And then, like Pam said, we can work with that on the back end. When you're done with school and you're struggling with your payments, there's a lot of different federal programs that people can qualify for to help out.
Yep.
And to start out by looking into federal loans, I think folks will fill out what's called the FAFSA, the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. You probably don't work in that process. It's sort of after the fact that you would come in with someone's role.
Yep.
Right. So if you're listening out there and you're thinking about going to college, or you've never gone before, or the first person in your family, there's something called the FAFSA out there that you fill out annually, I believe, and that kind of reports to the government, your family income and what type of need you might have. And now, I know when I was going into college, I had no idea kind of what I was doing. I was just doing what I was told by, some high school counselors or whatnot, and maybe they were well-intentioned, of course, but I just didn't really have that financial background, and I didn't know how much college cost. When you get a bachelor's degree, you commonly work towards 120 credits, and each college has a different cost per credit hour. So in theory, if you want to find out how much college costs, you multiply the number of credits you need by the cost per credit hour. And then, of course, there's other fees if you want to room and board, et cetera, et cetera. But long story short... And books and food. Yes. And that adds up to, in the end, a lot of money. And so right now I think that at least for the graduating class in 2018, this is from the Student Loan Hero Statistics, the graduating class in 2018 had average student loan debt of $30,000. More than 44 million Americans are in student loan debt or have student loan debt right now. That's around 14% of all Americans. And I believe that's more than the total credit card debt that's out there. Where there's,
just a few years ago, it surpassed the amount of consumer credit debt out there.
Wow. I know those two types of debts are often tied together when people are struggling with their student loans. That was something we touched on a few weeks ago, but didn't quite delve into.
Yep. But another thing, too, is just as far as in the pre-college, I know we handle most of the post, but just some advice as to what to look for when you're going for student loans. Look at not only the cost, but look for work studies. Look for, I don't know if a lot of people may not be aware, but New York State has the Empire program, where if you go to a SUNY school and you agree to live and you stay in New York State for so many years afterwards, you know what I mean? It's an option. At SUNY schools, you could pretty much go for free depending on income levels. So there are steps to make the student loan debt, better, but just look into options. Look into grants from the school itself. Look for scholarships from the school. There are options to try to decrease that student loan debt. Your bigger private schools, it's going to be a bigger bill. So even doing a 2+2 program, start out at a community college and then work your way up to the university or, anything like that. And I know, a lot of kids are like, well, I'm not going to a community college because I want to move away from home. Go to a community college in a different county. You know what I mean? A lot of them now have the room and board. They have the dorms. Look at your options because a lot of those first credits you can get at a community college and then do a 2+2 to another college. Right. So those are options in the beginning.
And your degree in the end, if you did, let's just use some examples. So if you went to MCC for 2 years and then to RIT for 2 years, your 4-year degree is going to say RIT, your diploma. It doesn't say, oh, you went to a community college for 2 years and then you went to RIT. So that is such a great program because that saves you so much money those first 2 years. And then you get into RIT for 2 years where, yes, the bill is more, but, they have the program that you're interested in that you couldn't finish at a community college. So, it's kind of works out great on both ends. So So don't let that bother you, because, at the end of the day, you're the one who has to pay the bill back. So don't be, upset if you have to go to a state school or a community college for a couple of years and then go to a private school. Because like Pam said, that private school bill is so much more than the state school bill. Then it just makes sense, going forward in your life, that you don't have that burden when you're trying to look for a job and trying to start a family and buy a home and that kind of thing, which a lot of people have to put off these days because their student loan bills are so high.
Yeah, that was something we really got into, actually, that it's very common for people to put off those major normal life decisions because of student loan debt.
And I do a lot of the First Home Club. That's actually the first type of counseling that I started was First Home Club, so it's kind of like my baby. But I see a lot of clients, and I saw it before I was a student loan counselor, that had no mortgage affordability because of their student loans. But there are options to help you so that you do have mortgage affordability. You know what I mean? So it ties hand in hand. The student loans, if they're not managed right, or if there's the balances on them, could affect that home purchase. Going back to the private schools, I've counseled people with private school loans over $200,000.
Wow.
So it's what do you know what I mean? And hope and pray that they're in public service so that they can go for public service loan forgiveness. But that's a lot of money for college, and it could definitely...
That's about a $2,000 a month payment.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah. I've literally had clients that their student loan payment is more than they bring in a month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's important to just weigh out your options and do the research and talk.
Do that research. A lot of people think, oh, I want to go to this college because it's so well known, or there's something about it that they like. But don't go to a technical school to major in English, or something like that, where make sure that it makes sense, that you're getting, if you truly need to go to that private school that has the bigger price tag, make sure that it makes sense. Don't go there if you can go to a SUNY school for the same thing and get the same education, or for a major that really doesn't make sense at that private school to pay all that money for. So there are certain majors that you absolutely have to go to a specialized school, and especially if you move beyond your bachelor's degree and now you want a law degree, or you want to get your MBA, or you want to go to med school. Those kind of things are obviously going to add to that debt, and there are specialized schools for those that you absolutely have to go to that school for that major. But make those decisions before, when you're a senior in high school. Look at, is this the best school for this major? And, kind of look at those things. Don't just say, I want to go there because all my friends are going there. And, but I can't afford this tuition because of that. And I'm not going to look at what you're going to make coming out of college for the career that you think you want to do. And, you can look at that with your guidance counselors in high school. Look at what you're going to make. Look at what the tuition's going to cost you, and just decide if it's making sense. It does make sense for some people, and then for some people it doesn't.
There's people that may have that $200,000 student loan debt, but they can manage the payments without a problem. Right. You know what I mean? So it's just you got to do what's right for you in your situation and what your degree is going to be in.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of advice there, and I do want to turn to the phones now because we do have a caller. Hi, you should be on the air. Thanks for giving us a call at 100.9 FM WXIR. Hello.
Hi, this is Jeff from Webster.
Hi, Jeff. What is your question?
And I have a question for the speakers that you have. I'm just wondering, how often are they successful in getting a lower credit card rate or interest rate negotiated when they call the credit card companies? And is this something a person can do on their own?
That's actually a really good question. Our success rate is pretty good. But we have, the way our system works is the reason we go over a budget is to prove hardship. And we know based on the hardship what interest rate we can propose to the creditor. Now, is it a possibility that the creditor will come back and say, we'll accept it, but at this interest rate? Yes, it is. But that interest rate is going to be lower. As long as there's a hardship, which if there wasn't a hardship is when our honesty steps in and we're like, you can handle it on your own. And absolutely, there are ways that you can get lower interest rates with the credit cards. You can actually call them and ask them for like an internal hardship program. The problem that's running into now is that a lot of the credit cards won't let you do that unless you're past due. You don't have to be past due to come through us, but a lot of the credit card companies now, you have to be past due with them for them to lower the interest rate. And if they do lower the interest rate, they only lower it for a certain amount of time. With us, it'll be until the debt is paid off. That is part of the debt management agreement between us and the creditors. So that it is an option, especially if it's only something where you're, say, you know that you're a seasonal worker and you're not going to be working for a few months. You can call the creditors and you can speak with them. A lot of the times, creditors will refer you back to a debt management company. Right. I get that a lot in my appointments. They tell me that their credit card company referred them to us because they were looking for a lower interest rate. But you won't know unless you ask. So absolutely, it is worth the conversation with the credit card company. It is something you can attempt on your own.
And I'll throw out some stats, because that's my job.
Yes, that's her job, not mine.
So on average, if you come to CCCS and you enroll in a debt management plan, on average, our clients have a 25% interest rate when they come to us. And the average client gets their interest rate down to 8.6. So right there, even if, but like Pam said, even if your creditor is only willing to lower it to 15% or something, you're still saving money. Mm-hmm. But on average, we can get those interest rates down to just over 8%.
Wow.
How do you just contact your agency for an appointment?
Yes. Yeah, so you can call us at 585-546-3440. You'll go into our client support department, and they will schedule you an appointment. And like we said, you can do it in person, over the phone. Either way is fine. They'll tell you what you need for that appointment, what you need to do to get ready, what kind of information we'll need in order to help you. And, usually we can get you an appointment within a day or two. Depending on, some of the evening appointments book out a little bit farther and the Saturday appointments. But, if you could do an appointment during the day, we can probably get you in the next day.
Wow.
I was also curious, you said something about paying off at least one of the credit cards as opposed to paying monthly payments for each of them. What's the advantage to reducing or getting rid of one of the credit card payments? Shouldn't you try to pay off the highest interest rates first?
Yes. So, and I think what Pam was mentioning was that she had talked to people that were making